My dear fellow Biafrans, my name is Ifeanyi Chukwu. I am not a registered member of IPOB, and believe me, this is something I'm not proud of. It's not something I say proudly. But IPOB runs in my veins. IPOB runs through my heart. IPOB is in my brain, in my core, in my fabric. I am IPOB. Though I may not be a registered member of IPOB, I have supported IPOB from the very beginning, and I have supported ESN in all shapes and forms since ESN was created. However, being interested in history, I have followed with a hawk eye the Biafran struggle. I didn't join IPOB not because that there was something wrong with IPOB or that I lacked confidence in IPOB or that I felt too big for IPOB. No. I didn't join because I feared a time like this would come. I hoped it wouldn't. But here we are today. From observing history and realizing that Britain realizing what Britain has done to us during slavery, during colonialism, and during the so-called civil war, the so-called Nigeria-Biafra war. I always knew that if there was another fight for self-determination, we were going to have to drag Britain herself into the mud with Biafra and Nigeria. Let all of us be rolling inside the mud. I always knew a time like this would come. I always knew that we must not, and when this time comes, we must not allow Britain to just sit on the sidelines directing the war like last time. I believe it is time to open up a UK front to this struggle. It is time to get under Britain's skin and subvert everything Britain represents. Paint Britain black, how she has painted us, the Biafrans, over the years. Tit for tat. Kill Britain's reputation in the world and in history. I love IPOB. I respect IPOB. But since this time has come, and I believe this task must be done, I will operate outside IPOB to leave them to follow their directive, our directive, the Biafran directive. As much as I'll operate outside IPOB, I will take great care not to do anything contrary to the IPOB directive, contrary to the Biafra directive. They described us, IPOB, as a dot in a circle. When they illegally abducted Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, some people were rejoicing. Some of them were even saying Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is now a dot in a circle. If only. If you ask me, the situation is more akin to a spider in the middle of a spider's web. And now, everybody is now tangled in that web. Britain, finally, something has dragged Britain into the web. Britain, you are now inside, oh. You are now inside this web. Because the whole world is watching to see if the British passport stands for anything. This is a man who renounced Nigeria as his country because the Nigerian state that is supposed to protect its citizens, in trying to illegally arrest this man, which is their history with this man, a history of illegal arrests. They didn't even use police to try and arrest this man. They sent an army. An army. Where is this done? Was that supposed to be an arrest or an invasion or an annihilation? That you send an army, complete with helicopter gunships and jet fighters or bombers. And Britain, we're wise to everything now. We know that your secret agents, SOE, were instrumental in running your colonial empire. And this SOE didn't really leave. They morphed into MI6. And that they are still there in the form of Katrina Liang running around, running the zoo as it is now. We also know that Kenya used to be in your sphere of influence. So, all of you should stop with the denials and phony play of innocence. Britain, we're watching to see how you treat one of your passport holders, because Nigeria is also in your sphere of influence. And Britain, in case you didn't know, we all now know why you want Nigeria the way it is. Everybody knows. It's not a secret anymore. It's now your shame. Yes, Kenya was your colony. And questions still remain to be answered as to who supplied the secret intelligence as to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's movements, whereabouts, and timings. Come on, this man is a world political figure. You cannot tell me there are no secret agent eyes on him. And we all know MI6 is all up in his business, including MI5. Britain, this time, we will not allow you to just look the other way, as if you don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, you are the person pulling the strings for the genocide. Look, Britain, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And for those of you who choose to be Nigerians, who want to die Nigerians, let me tell you something. Especially those of us in the South. Well, this is for the South. Let me tell all of you in the South something. Everybody in the South is at the center of the greatest genocide in human history, the greatest crime against humanity ever, bar none. If you don't know this, wake up, ask yourself again why they took history away from your schools, and then go online, quit Facebook and Instagram for once. Dig into your history. It's all out there in black and white. Stop giving substance to the white man's claim that if you want to hide something from a black man, you write it in a book. Because when you guys refuse to read, it begins to look like that claim is true. Like I said, if you guys don't know, all of you so-called southern Nigerians, Oduduwa o, Niger Delta o, Biafra o, all including Middle Belt, you guys are the center of the greatest crime against humanity ever. Starting from slave trade, colonialism, Biafran war, until today, with neo-colonialism. And if you don't believe me, if you think this is far-fetched or conspiracy, why don't you follow the interests and the money, like they classically always say? Follow the money, and in whose interests? Then maybe you realize why. And while you are doing this, dig into your damned history. Because yes, Nigeria's history is damned. Southern Nigerians, as all of you have been bracketed, Oduduwa o, Biafra o. For those that are still, today I heard Niger Delta have finally started pushing for their own self-determination from the zoo. So whatever you choose, call yourselves in that Southern Zoological Republic, Nigeria, because that name is just abhorrent to me, man. I'm sorry, but it's just abhorrent. Whatever you choose to call yourselves, as long as you're in the South, understand that Britain wants you gone. And understand why. I think at this stage, everybody in the South by now should know why Britain wants them gone. And if you don't, I'll refresh your memories again. Now, I said we are at the center of the greatest crime against humanity. Who is committing this crime? Tada! Britain. Britain is at the center of committing this greatest crime against humanity. And this crime, they've been committing this crime for 400 years. Since slavery, then colonialism, then Biafra war, then neo-colonialism today. So, why do they want you gone? They want you gone because it actually starts from even slavery times. Number one, they want you gone, especially as a Biafran, because their biggest headache. When they came to our land, they met a system of government called republicanism, a system of society called republicanism, what they like to call egalitarianism, and like to brand as primitive and ancient and backward, even though that's what they strive to achieve today. They saw a republican society, and this was a direct threat to their capitalist society, which they were going around the world pointing guns at everyone, destroying their societies and imposing their own systems on. A republican society and a capitalist society are not really compatible. This is why they could not let our light shine, and they had to extinguish us by suppressing us. Because they know that if we went on the global scale, on the global stage with our republicanism, very few countries who knew what they were about or what they wanted will buy into capitalism. And also, in a Republican society, no women will ever think of, well, we need feminism. No. And because of how hierarchical capitalism is, this is why there are women today in the Western world have created feminism. And they didn't want ideas of the way our Republican women lived to cross over into the minds of their own women back then. So the number one reason why Britain wanted us suppressed and wants us gone today. When I mean gone, I mean wiped off the face of the earth, extinct, genocided, whatever. This, what I've just said prior, is the number one reason. Number two reason, our resources. For 400 years, Britain has climbed on our back to build and decorate herself, her land, her society. Britain has gotten rich off our backs, our sweat, our tears, our pain, our blood. For 400 years, she has been milking our life to better her own life. She started by milking us for free labor as slaves. I think this part of the history is very important because a lot of it is missed just because the Biafran War in itself was so epic. And I'm not trying to take anything from the Biafran War, but what happened during slavery, what Britain did to us, Britain and the Fulani did to us during slavery, is very important to take note of. So they came in, mined us as resources, as slaves, human resource. When slavery was beginning to get out of hand with things like the Haitian Revolution and riots in America and Brazil, when slavery began to get out of hand, they changed tactics to colonialism, which is still another form of slavery. The only difference is with slavery, they were kidnapping us, taking us to their land and forcing us to work. But with colonialism now, no, they send their army down, pointing guns at us. So basically, they now had us on our land and were forcing us to work. And they put us to work, mining all our resources for them to ship back, to decorate and beautify their own land at the expense of our own land and at the cost of the lives of our own people. And this resource, this rapid resource extraction operation Britain set up in our land, we all know still exists today. If you go to Wikipedia and where about the Biafran War, Wikipedia will tell you that Britain wanted the war to continue because she was getting cheap oil. But we know that was free oil, and it's still free oil till today. This is the second reason Britain wants you extinct. Because as long as the Fulani are there, they are guaranteed free oil for life. Because they are business partners. They worked together during slavery to kidnap and sell us into slavery. They worked together during independence to make sure that the whole game was rigged against our favor. They worked together during the Biafran War to make sure we didn't break away. They worked together after the Biafran War to keep us subjugated. They are still working together now. They work together to kidnap illegally our leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. These are hardcore business allies going back 250 years. These people have pacts, not just agreements, pacts between themselves. Fulani and British. Fulani and British. British and Fulani. Okay. So that was the second. This is the second reason Britain wants you gone off the face of the earth. The third reason is organ harvesting. SARS. Remember, when they did end SARS, before you know it, everything blew out the water. We realized that what? So Britain was behind setting up SARS. And for someone like me, when information like this comes out, I turn into a mole and go digging. I follow the rabbit hole. And when you find out that Britain has a population where over 55% of Britain's population is over 50 years old. Over 55% of the people in Britain are over 50 years old. You begin to understand why Britain set up SARS and why SARS is harvesting organs. Because you have to ask, what is Britain doing involved in a rogue police organization that has been found out to be majorly involved in organ harvesting? Why? Because British society is aging. There's a high demand for organs. Southern Nigerians, you are providing these organs thanks to SARS. And all your warrant chief governors and warrant chief presidents that set up and allowed an organization like SARS to operate in the space of so-called Southern Nigeria today. I hope you all know SARS is still running around. And need I remind you, the container full of 7,221 penises going heading for China. Plus the ones, the internal market, the politicians, your warrant chiefs. Election time is coming now. Juju needs to be done. This is what they set SARS up for you. Well, but sticking to Britain, the third reason Britain wants you gone is because of 3. The crime of this organ harvesting that has been exposed. And then 4, the fact that Britain has her hands bloody in the greatest crime against humanity ever. For 400 years, starting from slavery to colonialism to the colonialism to the Biafran War to neo-colonialism to SARS till today. Britain cannot afford to be sued. This is why Britain wants you gone. These are the 4 reasons. If you didn't know it now. Listen. Going back to these 4 reasons. Number 1, our republicanism. Republicanism is simply incompatible with capitalism. Capitalism is a zero-sum game. If you analyze capitalism with game theory, you will see that it's a zero-sum game. And also, our republicanism goes against white supremacy, which is the very structure this so-called modern world is built upon. Now, 2, I spoke about Britain wanting us gone because of our resources. Why do they want our resources? Britain is an extravagantly decadent country. If you took time to do the research about how Britain balances her books, how Britain balances her budget, you will begin to realize that without the augmentation from Biafran oil, Biafran free oil, Britain's economy will collapse. When you analyze Britain's economy and their major industries, three of the major ones being the pharmaceutical industry, with with question marks, with all this whole COVID hoo-ha. Their pharmaceutical industry, one. Their second biggest industry being their weapons industry. Their third biggest industry being the City of London. When you analyze how much money these three entities make and how much money Britain spends on things like her free healthcare, NHS, things like her benefits for unemployed people, homeless people, and even developing new weapons herself, you realize that on those three biggest British industries, Britain cannot balance her books. Our arms industry is not even that big. The major patronizer is Saudi Arabia. And it's not even as if Saudi Arabia buys a lot. They only buy jet fighters and then the maintenance for those jet fighters. That's all. The market share for weapons manufacturing, Britain is nowhere near the major players. When you've got China, America, Russia, Iran, South Korea, Japan even, India, even Turkey. Britain is no longer a major player in the arms industry. So that industry for her is even shrinking. With the drugs, Britain is also not a major player because there's India, there's China, there's Iran. These countries, and obviously America. Yes, Britain is one of the top players, but the market share is being squeezed on her as well. And then the City of London, thanks to their financial America wonder, financial hoo-ha, with the credit crunch and, all this, the City of London and Brexit as well. The City of London is not riding the lofty heights it once used to. And when you analyze these three things, you begin to realize that Britain cannot balance her books without free oil from Biafra land. This is why Britain wants you gone. Because them and the Fulani, being foreigners, they are just in that space to loot. And ideally for two of them, Britain and Fulani, they would rather everybody in that space be gone so that they could just do what they want. And then I want to say this, and this is the first major request I'm going to request of all my Biafran peoples out there. And it's not a big thing to do. It's not a major thing. But I think it's about time something like this should be done now. I think anywhere you are making a comment, be it written or be it spoken, and you have to mention Britain or British, or you have to mention Fulani, I think it's time we link the two words together. They should now be a common nomenclature: British Fulani, Fulani British. I think it's time for history to begin to identify the British and the Fulani, albeit the strangest bedfellows. I always describe Britain's association with the Fulani as like a posh boy, a posh British boy who has gone to the best schools in Britain, like Eton, like Oxford, Cambridge, like David Cameron, rolling around, romancing in bed with a homeless street crackhead. That's what the British association with the Fulani is like. Britain claims to be the height of civilization, even though I strongly disagree. And this is where I come in. I will, when I finish That great in Britain will be cancelled. They will remove it. They will remove that great in Britain. So I believe it's time for us to tie these two words together to become one. You know how they did Hausa Fulani? It's time to now make it British-Fulani, Fulani British. And what I'm asking you, please, my dear Biafrans, is not much. Anywhere you are replying a comment in YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and you have to mention Fulani or you have to mention Britain, just type Britain-Fulani or Fulani-Britain. Anywhere you're making a video and you have to mention Britain Fulani or Britain or Fulani, just call two of them as one. Please make this widespread. Let British people begin to see this, the British public. Let them begin to ask, why are they associating us with these Fulani people? And then let them go and ask, who are these Fulani people? Because a big part of our problem today is that the British government knows what's going on very well. The British media knows what's going on very well. But they hide it from their people. So there are people, and who we know, there are a lot of good British people out there. Their people are not, no, their people don't know what's going on, and hence are not putting pressure on them. I believe at this stage, it's time to drag everything in Britain into the struggle. Everybody, everything, is time. So, let us all know why Britain wants us gone. And let us laud it not just to Britain herself, let us laud it to the whole world. That we did nothing to these people. For 400 years, since they left their own land, we were on our own land, minding our own business. They left their own land, came to our own, started disturbing us. Till today, we've known no peace. And today, they're actually masterminding a genocide against us. Let us let the world know that Britain is not the squeaky clean Britain she makes out to be. She goes around the whole world parading herself, talking about human rights and everything like she invented it. But meanwhile, she's behind the scenes, masterminding a genocide to hide a crime against humanity. This same human rights, so a crime against humanity, she is behind. She was at the center of for 400 years. My people, it's time to drag Britain into the mud. Let all of us start rolling inside. If they ask you, tell them you are from the zoo, but that you are from Biafra. Let them ask you, what's zoo? Where is zoo? Then I begin to explain to them. All of you in diaspora. This is a request to everybody in diaspora, not just even Biafrans, Oduduwa, and our Ambazonian cousins. If you hear this message, the same thing for France. The same thing should be done to France. We must attach a nomenclature that France will not like. These two countries, it's time we get under their skin. We irritate. Because what they're just doing to us is they are looking the other way. The government and the media, pretending they are not seeing what's happening. And blanking out the news, the horror they are doing for to their people. And these two countries, their fear is that if we gain independence, France and Britain, that their economies will collapse. They know this very well. Everybody knows it. We know it. But, this is where the UN too needs to be dragged in. So the UN, okay, so France and Britain, their fear is that if they let us go, their economies will collapse. So, to mitigate or stop their economies from collapsing, they are willing to back and sponsor genocide of our peoples. Meanwhile, the UN that was set up to protect human rights knows this. So I guess Britain's and France's economy is more important to them than the lives of everybody in the Gulf of Guinea. UN. We've been crying now for over 6 years, Ambazonia for even longer. Well, Biafra, Ambazonia. All of us, we are crying now. You are not hearing. When we start our own now, you now come. Hey, please, stop. Next thing, you send soldiers. And we all know what your soldiers are there for. To loot. We've been crying now. You're just doing, we're in talks. We're talking. We're discussing. This for how long? What kind of discussions are these that don't want to finish? Meanwhile, people are dying as they are discussing. Meanwhile, you, Britain, when you were signing this so-called amalgamation of Nigeria, the whole thing was sharp. You called a handful of people. The entire Nigeria didn't even know what was going on. You called a handful of people. They probably didn't even understand they probably didn't even get a chance to read the contract. Oh, sign here. Everybody sign. Sharp. Nigeria was now one. Britain, why are you hiding the document of amalgamation from us? Why? Why is it classified? Should be the 100 years has elapsed. Why is it still classified? Britain, this thing will not end well for you. This thing will not end. You could have ended this thing a long time ago and still gotten away with it. But the longer you let this thing drag, the more this thing will not end well for you, Britain. I'm telling you now. See, British people, look, I don't hate you. But your government is evil. The history your government perpetrated for you is evil. And if you choose to be complicit, be my guest. Fine. But my people have to fight for freedom. We need our freedom because look, there is nothing more fundamental to human rights and in this world than freedom. There is no greater force in this world than the need for freedom. No dictator, no oppressor, no colonizer can subjugate a people, whether by force of arms or whatever, forever. A time will come when they will rise, and no army, no amount of bullets will stop them. Britain, we showed you this before during Ekumeku. Maybe you didn't learn properly then. We will show you again. Britain, this Ekumeku will happen in Britain this time. Okay. No, let me okay. Okay. Anyway, I've said my piece. Everybody is now dragged in. British-Fulani, Fulani-British, Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, UN, even France, Ambazonia, Oduduwa, all of us are now inside. Britain, let's see how you play this whole saga involving one of your passport holders. And then, when Nnamdi Kanu finally comes out, let's see whether he'll come out and you continue acting as if you don't know why he got into that position in the first place. You will have to talk about this. It's time. It's time for everybody to talk. In fact, what I recommend to you, British-Fulani, what I recommend to you is, while you have Nnamdi Kanu there, talk to him. Talk to him. You know what he wants. While you have him there, talk to him. You know what he wants. Let everybody sign, and let's all come out and avoid this continued madness that will not lead to anything good for all of us.